Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another edition of Sports Betting 101. It is episode 3. Yes, Sports Betting 101, an educational series that sets you up with a game plan for you to have a shot at success when it comes to sports betting. Because let's be honest, folks, the odds are stacked against us. Whether it's Vegas, whether it's the cappers, whether it is the FBI agent in your phone, everybody does not want to see us win, but that's okay because we still have a shot to go ahead and win some money on sports betting and have some fun while we do it. But first things first, we have to learn the basics. If you want to have any shot at success when it comes to sports betting, sports gambling, you have to learn the basics. And don't worry, I'm here to help guide you through. What's up, guys? DJ and Doc here, as always, trying to help coach you through, give you a game plan, give you a shot at success, give you some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way for you to very easily step into it and have a shot at success. So episode 3 tonight, I've had the great opportunity to walk you guys through episode 1, which was the intro. We kind of laid the ground rules there, went through kind of, laid the ground. Why is this important? Why is this needed? Who's our big 3 enemies, right? Then we went over to episode 2, laid out the basics, gave you the golden rule of betting, golden rule of sports betting there. We broke down the odds. We went through spreads, parlays, things like that, money line bets. So if all of that is sounding like another language to you, I highly encourage you to go ahead and check out those first 2 episodes. Again, the basics we went over: golden rule of sports betting, odds, money lines, spread, over under, straights versus parlay. What should I bet? What should I not bet, right? Then intro episode, we talked about how are the odds exactly stacked against us? What are our pros and cons here? Introduced myself a little bit, talked about sports gambling in general, and really introduced those big 3 enemies, right? So we have Vegas, we have the sports books, and we also have ourselves. And that is what episode 3 is surrounded around. When I talk about ourselves as the own enemy, because sometimes it's the truth. We are our own worst enemies. And a lot of that has to do with our emotions, and not only coming with that, but really our emotions dealing with a loss. And that is what this episode is surrounded around. Just like our friend here, who probably saw his bet get absolutely crushed at a last-second buzzer beater, a Hail Mary, whatever you want to call it, an overtime shootout goal. It can be frustrating, folks, and that is what we're going to face head-on because, again, when it comes to sports betting, you got to face things head-on. You can't just brush it under the rug. Bad things happen, right? So this episode is all about dealing with a loss. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, like, what do you mean dealing with the loss? I came to sports betting to win. I'm going to win all the time, no matter what, because I'm better than everybody else out there. Well, I wish it was that easy, but newsflash. We first have to learn how to lose before we can win, because we're going to do a lot of it. Sports betting, even the best sports bettors in the world, people who are profitable long-term, they're really only probably hitting at around, if they're lucky, a 55, 56%. So even in the best cases, you are still losing around 45% of the time. Losing is part of the game. It is part of the nature, right? Sports betting, you cannot go into sports betting not being able to realize that you're going to take some losses, right? It would be awesome if we could just win every sports bet that we place, but that's just not the reality, right? There's a reason that it's only been the 72 Dolphins that had that perfect season. We're playing a lot more games than just the 1450, however many games the Dolphins played. So you got to understand that it's not realistic to think you're going to win all your bets, right? So we got to figure out how to deal with it, because although it may happen a lot, it doesn't get easier. Losing sucks, right? Whether no matter what part of life, but especially when you talk about something like sports betting, because it's directly tied into you losing money as well, right? So not only do you say like, oh, I thought something was going to happen, I put my money here. You don't only lose your pride, but you also lose the money attached with it. So it's very important, because the biggest thing you want to avoid is not compounding those losses, because it can quickly turn into a very slippery slope where if you don't kind of take a second to pause, have that self-reflection, then one loss can turn into 2 and so on and so forth. But I don't want to get too far ahead of us, because we're going to jump into that a little bit later on. But this is a great time to go ahead and mention you should not bet money that you cannot afford to lose, right? We just talked about it. You have to know that there's going to be some losses along the way. Whether they all come at once and you hit a dry spell or a cold streak, or whether they're sprinkled in every now and then, right? We have to face the reality that, yes, if you sports bet, you will lose sometimes. And that's okay. Because remember, in order to be a profitable long-term bettor, you have to hit around that 53, 52%, right? So, and that's straight bets, not talking parlays really baked in there. But so even again, to be profitable, we do not have to hit 100% of the time, and we will not hit 100% of the time. Just want to be hitting more positive than negative, but we got to learn how to deal with the negative, right? Deal with that negative emotion that comes with losing. Losing is not fun for anybody, right? It is just psychology, right? A lot of people, we kind of come to sports betting, we think it's all going to be a serotonin, dopamine rush. It's going to be all fun and games all the time. That's not true about anything in life. It can't just be butterflies and rainbows the whole time. So we have to fully address those times where it sucks, right? Hey, especially those ones where it can just be crushing on the last second because you think like, oh man, this bet was hitting this whole time. This team was winning. It was covering. It was being so great. And then boom, that last second. And let me tell you, folks, you are not alone when you deal with that. So the biggest thing that we're going to talk about today, and I kind of already hit on it a little bit, is we don't want to turn one loss into 2, into 3, into 4, right? We do not want to chase our losses. So, and then I thought this was a pretty funny picture here. Obviously, I'm chasing my money and then it's going to lead me right off the cliff, right? And then honestly is kind of what happens because we start to think, oh man, like I was entitled to that money. Because yeah, at one point it was your money, right? But you have to realize that when you put a bet up, just like at a casino, when you make a bet, you have to be fully responsible and fully okay with the potential of that losing, right? So this kind of goes back to that don't bet money that you can't afford to lose. You have to talk to yourself and have some self-reflection and say like, I have to be completely comfortable where if all this money's gone, I'm still okay, right? I would say, anytime that I would walk into a casino or take somebody to a casino for the first time, I would always tell them that you have to only bring money that you are comfortable with, where if you wake up in the morning after probably that gnarly hangover, you are 100% okay with all of that money being gone. We have to set our expectations there. We can't just come in and just think, oh, I'm gonna make money, or I have to make money tonight. That is absolutely a recipe for success, because you just try to keep pressing and pushing and try to do things that just are not logical and take you out of your process. And then boom, that's how you turn one loss into a bunch of losses here. So to give you a very clear example of why we should not chase losses, right? So let me do a better job at defining chasing losses, right? So chasing losses is essentially I lose a bet. Typically it's one that hurts a little bit more. One of those that, man, that was winning like 99% of the time. And then boom, at the last second, it's taken from you or something like that. Those are the ones that always hurt a little deeper, right? We always got to, pour one out for those guys, but making sure that we don't turn that one bad, devastating loss into another one. Because I promise you, each event is independent of each other, right? Each outcome is independent of each other. That game that you just lost has no effect on that game happening right now or in the 10 seconds later, right? We're talking about, chasing losses is really one of those things where, hey, we got March Madness coming up, right? So you're looking at that round of 12 o'clock games, you're hitting this one and then boom, you lose one in overtime at the last second. That game that's tipping off at 2:30 has no impact on that game before. That event is completely separate, right? In our mind, we think, oh man, I got to get that money back, right? I just lost 10, 15 bucks. Yeah, I got to chase that money. I need to make that money back. Let me double my bet. Let me do something crazy and let me put it on a team that I probably didn't do the research and didn't go through that same process when I made my bets, right? So that's where live betting can be a little bit of an issue, right? There you can definitely find some edges in live betting. So live betting just means that while the game is currently going on, you can place a bet, right? It used to be that you had to place a bet in the beginning of the game before kickoff, tip off, whatever it may be. But now with everything mostly on our phones, right? We talked about it, over 75% of the US, you can legally bet on sports. Most of that also allowing mobile betting. You can do it instantaneously at the tip of our hands, right? Which is great, but it also gets a little dangerous as far as if you don't set up good boundaries and making sure like, hey, yes, let me deal with that first loss. I realize it sucks, you don't have to give yourself a whole pep talk, but maybe take a second to think like, hey, all right, yes, that first loss, that sucks. I lost that bet. But that me turning around and throwing double the money or going right into the next one without even thinking about it, like, oh, I need to immediately get this money back, is not a recipe for success. I promise you, and I tell you this because I have learned this the hard way. I will give you, I told you I'm going to be honest, right? I am trying to help you guys kind of, avoid some mistakes that I made early on when I first started betting. And again, I'm trying to help you guys out as a friend, coach you guys through it, because when I wish there was somebody that kind of could walk me through it when I first started sports gambling, right? So this is the whole intent of this, is for people who are just starting out, maybe are interested in getting into it, or somebody who jumped into it and probably realized like, man, I really don't know what I'm doing, but let me go ahead and take a second to actually learn the basics, right? Because I've talked about this. You will hear me say this 100 times. Even Michael Jordan says it, right? You have to master the basics. You have to master the fundamentals if you want to be skilled at anything. That is the first step, right? Usually when you look at people in all aspects of life, it's one of those things where they always ask you, like, how did you get so good, right? How did you get so well? Like even, as a nerd example, right? In my field as physical therapy, we always say like the best physical therapists just do the basics very well, right? They are very honed into the basics. It's not all about these fancy gizmos and gadgets. It's about making sure you hone in on those basics. And it's the same thing with sports betting, right? You're going to have all these cappers show you all this analytics, and I got my PhD in computer science, and this algorithm is going to tell me 100% of the time. Bullshit. No way. Not a chance. Vegas would not look like Vegas if that was true, right? So we got to be careful. We have to make sure that focus on the basics. All right. So I'm going to give you guys an example of a time that I did not listen to this advice because it wasn't out there yet. So this was probably back in 2019. So pretty early on when I was getting into sports gambling. So it was, that classic saying, nothing good happens after midnight. Well, clearly whoever made that saying is not a college football fan, because Hawaii after dark is just absolutely a special thing for those who have not done it. But obviously, as we know, Hawaii is 6 hours behind. So their football games are pretty light. So I remember one Saturday night, after probably a couple of these guys, I think the game kicked off at midnight or something like that. So Hawaii was playing Air Force in college football. And I, for whatever reason, thought that Hawaii was going to win, or that they really had a good shot against this Air Force team. Neither team was particularly spectacular, but Hawaii had a hell of an offense that year, right? They were just, they didn't have a lick of defense, but they had a lot of offense and they could put up points with anybody. So that's kind of what I was going with. So I came into that game, I had a decent, I don't know, maybe $50 on Hawaii, 1 or 2 units on them. And then they start getting down, right? They start losing. So when we talked about the live betting, this changes the odds. So, the exact numbers I cannot remember the exact numbers, but for sake of conversation, let's say that they were, a touchdown underdogs. And then as they started losing, you could, bet them to cover the spread of 14, maybe, as long as they don't lose by 2 touchdowns. And then it became 3, right? So I just found myself progressively being like, oh no, in my head, Hawaii wins this game. Or in my head, I definitely thought Hawaii has a chance to keep this close. So I kept betting on Hawaii. Right? So this happened probably 2 or 3 times. And then it kind of got until the fourth quarter. And I was like, man, you know what? I think I think they're going to come back and score here. This is my shot. I'm going to double up the units. I'm going to, I'm going to make all this money back, right? I'm going to chase all this money that I lost on betting on this same team that is getting their ass kicked. You know what? I'm going to make it right now, right? let me show you the play that I will never forget. That just destroyed it for me, right? So let me just go ahead and pull it up. So I don't want to not do this justice here. Let's go ahead and pull this up. All right. So again, mind you, this is me probably 2 in the morning, right? Thinking like, yes, like I figured out sports gambling. All you got to do is just keep betting on that team. Eventually they'll cover that number, right? So yeah, this is 4 minutes left in the game. If Hawaii scores here, then yes, I would likely have won the bet because Air Force is probably going to run it out. Again, don't know for sure, but that is obviously what was going on in my head. So we got first and goal here. It's from the 4-yard line. Hawaii's down by a decent amount, so both teams look 4-2. I think this is Cole McDaniel here, but all right, let's just go ahead and give this a listen.
Throw and almost intercepted. Oh, wait a minute. It's still in play. Then it's bounced up and picked off. And that is Milton Bug. And Milton Bug is going to score.
All right, folks. I don't think you understand how crazy this is. I'm going to play it again. Watch how in the world, not only, here, we'll walk through it together. Not only is my guy open in the flat here, number 14, but the ball's late. He throws late. Guy makes an incredible play to get on this ball. Looks like he's going to pick it off and maybe get tackled, which probably isn't the worst case for me. He goes to tackle it, or he goes to pick it off. It looks like it's going to be now an incomplete pass, 2nd and goal, no harm, no foul. But he kicks it up to his other guy. It literally bounces on his back. He kicks it into the air, and this guy takes it 95 yards for a touchdown. I mean, you literally cannot make that up. That is the gambling gods just absolutely laughing on me. Yeah, and it's of course hilarious that it is Air Force that does it. Since now I'm an Army guy, so yeah, it's definitely a nice screw you to the airmen there. Aim high, but no. So yes, that is obviously a little bit of an extreme example, but an example of why we should never chase losses, right? That really, it should have just been now that I know a little bit better, it really should have been, all right, I think Hawaii is going to win this game. All right, let's go ahead and watch the game. And then, so they start losing. Nah, no big deal. Okay, look, that bet didn't hit. Boom. All right, 1 unit down, right? But it quickly kind of spiraled into, oh, no, there's no way. All right, I can't be wrong. All right, they'll cover the next one. They'll cover the next one, and the next. No, I'll get it back this time, right? It's that slippery slope, and it really is as easy as that, right? Especially with the live betting and it being just in your phone. Really got to be careful, making sure that you set up some type of checks and balances, right? I mean, it could be as simple as like, hey, every time that a loss happens like that, maybe just put your phone down and go take a 5-minute break. Go walk outside for 5 minutes, do something, walk your dog, pet your cat, whatever it may be. Go talk to your wife, go talk to your husband, whatever it may be, right? Because, yeah, no, I'm not saying it sucks, right? I completely understand. I've been there, but there's no better way to turn oh, man, that sucks. All right, one loss into, damn, I am now, 5-10 units in the hole, all because of emotion, right? We're all human. We all have emotions. That's what makes us awesome. That's what makes us terrible at times. But we need to make sure that we're not just betting on emotion, right? You're at some point while you go through this, you're going to probably develop a system, right? You're going to want to, most people, when they want to get into sports betting, it's because they either think they know about a particular sport and they have an edge, or they like to watch it and they like to research and they like matchups and thinking like, all right, yes, I think this team's going to win because X, Y, and Z. A lot of times that process goes out the window when it's like, oh man, I got my heart broken on that bet. Boom. And then all of a sudden that wraps into, all right, I'm just going to throw it on this next team. And like, you just impulse, right? You just kind of get right into the impulse thing. Again, whether it's taking a breath, right? Taking a moment, making sure like, hey, put the phone down or whatever. That's why, obviously at the casino, this maybe is a little bit easier, but the mobile betting, especially with it just being so easy to just get it right back into it and start chasing that. Like, you know what? I I found what I like to do is typically, you know, have my plays set already before and then really not try to alter with that plan, right? Some people do live betting can be profitable. Some people can really find an edge there, but you got to set some limits and set some boundaries, right? Because it may just be not be your day, right? There may just be like, hey, this team, we thought they were going to do well and they just wind up getting blown out, right? And that can kind of really screw with things. So the moral of the story there, never trust Air Force. No, I'm kidding. Don't chase your losses, right? Do not chase your losses. So just kind of a really quick recap, guys. Losing in sports betting is going to happen. I wish that we could just bet and never lose, right? It's almost like, yeah, man, I wish I could go to the gym and never have to go down and weight. I wish I never had to take a deload week. I wish I could just always keep going up in weight. I wish I could eat ice cream every day and never gain weight and get fat, right? That's just not how it works. Sports betting, you are going to lose. You're going to lose a lot, and it's okay, right? Again, that 52, 53% long-term profitable better, right? You want to try to hit 55, 56, 60%. Awesome. You're still losing 40, 45% of the time. You got to learn how to deal with losses. And it's not easy, right? And it's easy to sit here and say it, but you got to make sure that you are self-aware that I'm going to lose. So I have to be okay with it. I have to accept it and not go in naively and be like, oh, I'm going to win every single bet. And then when you lose, you're kind of shit hits the fan and you're like, I don't know what to do, right? Set up a system, kind of have a play that, hey, I know that there's a shot this game's going to lose. One, the best way to do it is make sure you don't bet with money that you absolutely need, right? The betting should be something that should be fun, should be extra, kind of like extracurriculars, right? Something that, we'll talk about in the next couple of episodes. We'll talk about bankroll management. We'll talk about, setting a budget for your betting and things like that, making sure that you're not going crazy all on one game. But, a lot of this obviously is going to tie in together. And I really wanted to hit this kind of up top in the series is dealing with losing. Because as soon as you get into it, whether it's your first game, whether it's your fifth game, whether it's your 10th game, you go on a little beginner's luck hot streak, you are going to deal with losing in sports betting. And that's okay. You just can't turn one loss into 2, into 3, into 4, right? Don't chase your losses. Each event is an independent event. It does not affect the next game. No matter how hard we try, no matter how much we want that money back, we cannot think like that. That money is gone. On to the next one. All right, folks. I appreciate you hanging out with me here. I hope you're having as much fun as I am here. Cheers to you. As always, it's been a blast. Check me out. I'm doing once a week. That's likely going to continue here, dropping one episode a week. Again, like, comment, and subscribe. You find me here over at IDP Plus. Whether it's fantasy, we got anything football related, go ahead and check them out. But as always, leave a comment if you want to hear about a particular subject, particular topic, like, hey, can you tell me more about bankroll management? Or can you tell me, more about, like, how do I find a capper that is actually transparent, right? Or how do I have some accountability? How do I track my bets? Things like that, right? All those topics are coming down the pipeline. But if there's anything else that you guys want to know, or just go ahead and comment, let me know, right? And I would be happy to cover that. Again, my main goal here is to help try to teach people some of the basics, teach people some of the things that I wish I would have known when I first started sports betting, sports gambling. Because at the end of the day, sports gambling is fun. It can be a great time, can be entertaining, it can be profitable. But if we do not learn the basics, we have no chance of success. Vegas, sports cappers, and ourselves are going to guarantee that if you do not know the basics, you will lose when it comes to sports betting. All right, guys, that's enough for tonight. So as always, DJ and Doc here. Hope you guys have a great week and take care.